Imagine this. You put away just $100 today and you do nothing else. 10, 20, or even 30 years later, that tiny sum could turn into tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. But here's the twist. Most people never reach that number. They underestimate the power of time. They underestimate the power of compounding. And in doing so, they leave a fortune on the table without even realizing it. What if I told you that some of the wealthiest people in history, people who seemed lucky, brilliant, or even ruthless, built their fortunes, not by chasing the next big deal, but by quietly letting compounding do the heavy lifting? And yet, most of us treat money like a fire we must constantly feed, never realizing that patience, consistency, and a simple mathematical principle could do the work for us. Today, we're going to uncover the secrets of compounding. We'll trace its history, meet the key figures who mastered it, examine the mistakes that destroy it, and show you how small, smart decisions today can create unimaginable wealth tomorrow. The concept of compounding isn't new. In fact, it's as old as money itself. The ancient mathematician Archimedes reportedly said, "Give me a place to stand, and I will move the world." He wasn't talking about money, but the principle applies perfectly. With compounding, small forces accumulate over time until they become unstoppable. The first real documented use of compounding in finance comes from ancient Mesopotamia. Merchants and moneylenders noticed that if you reinvested your profits, your wealth didn't just grow, it accelerated. What took decades to understand then took centuries for the world to formalize in banking, stocks, and bonds. Fast forward to the 17th century. The Dutch East India Company issued the first modern stock, allowing everyday investors to buy a piece of a global empire. Some early investors watched their initial stakes double, triple, or even grow tenfold over decades. And the principle behind it, compounding the reinvestment of returns on your returns. But here's a mystery. Why do some people fail to benefit from it, while others seem to have a magic touch with money? The answer isn't skill, luck, or insider knowledge. It's time and consistency. Two ingredients most people ignore in a world obsessed with instant gratification. Let's talk about some famous compounding masters. 1. 2. Benjamin Franklin, one of the founding fathers of the United States, once wrote about the power of compound interest, urging young people to save early and let their money grow. He understood that $1 saved today can become hundreds, even thousands, if left untouched. 3. Ancient kings and merchants. In medieval Europe and the Middle East, some of the wealthiest merchants didn't amass fortunes through conquest alone. They reinvested profits into multiple ventures over decades. Their wealth grew exponentially, much like modern portfolios, proving that compounding has always been the hidden engine of wealth. Notice a pattern: patience, consistency, reinvestment. These aren't secrets, they're habits. Yet most people ignore them, falling prey to common pitfalls we'll explore soon. To truly understand compounding, we need numbers. Let's take a simple example. You invest $1,000 at an annual return of 7%, a conservative stock market average. After 10 years, you'll have about $1,967. Not bad. But after 20 years, $3,870. 30 years. $7,612 is 40 years. $14,974. Now, imagine increasing the initial investment slightly or adding small monthly contributions. That's where the exponential magic kicks in. This is why financial advisors stress starting early, even if it's just small amounts. The longer your money has to grow, the more dramatic the results. Yet most people don't start. They wait for the right moment, the perfect salary, or the big break. And that's the breaking point, the moment where the magic of compounding is lost because time, the most crucial ingredient, is wasted. Even with a perfect strategy, compounding can fail. How? Through mistakes that seem small but compound themselves. 1. Procrastination. Waiting years before starting even a tiny investment drastically reduces potential wealth. Every year lost is thousands of dollars in missed growth. 2. Excessive spending. Money that isn't invested doesn't compound. Many people earn more but save less, thinking future income will make up for it, a trap that rarely works. 3. High fees. Hidden bank or fund fees eat into returns. A 2% annual fee may seem small, but over decades it can cut your wealth in half. 4. Emotional investing. Selling during a downturn or chasing hot trends interrupts the compounding process. Staying the course is harder than it sounds, but it's critical. Here's a stark example. Two people invest $10,000 at the same 7% return. One keeps it untouched for 30 years. The other withdraws just $500 each year for spending. So if compounding is so powerful, why does it feel invisible? Why do we underestimate it? Modern culture emphasizes instant gratification. People want results now. Compounding rewards patience, which is the opposite of our social instincts. Financial literacy is low. Most schools don't teach compound interest or investment basics, leaving individuals unaware of how even small, consistent investments can shape their future. Marketing traps. Banks and fintech apps often focus on quick wins rather than teaching long-term strategies, further hiding the compounding principle. The fallout is clear. Billions of potential wealth are lost every year simply because people don't understand time as power in finance. People try shortcuts. They chase trends, day trade, or buy the latest hot stock. But these hacks often fail because, 1. They rely on luck, not math. Compounding is predictable, but quick wins are not. 2. They ignore reinvestment. Without reinvesting gains, compounding stops working. 3. They are emotionally taxing. Chasing trends leads to panic selling, erasing years of growth. The reality: there are no shortcuts. Compounding rewards patience, discipline, and time. That's it. Today, compounding isn't just about money. It applies to knowledge, habits, and influence. Knowledge. Learning 30 minutes a day compounds over years into expertise unmatched by those who cram sporadically. Health. Small daily improvements in diet or exercise compound into decades of better health. Social influence. Consistently producing value online or in business compounds into networks, credibility, and opportunities. Shocking data. A $100 monthly investment at a 7% return for 40 years becomes over $150,000. Meanwhile, someone who waits 10 years to start ends up with only about $75,000, despite investing the same total amount. Time literally doubles or halves your outcomes. There's a moment in every compounding journey that most people never reach. For years, growth looks slow, almost disappointing. The numbers crawl upward, barely rewarding your patience. This is where most people quit, convinced that compounding is overrated, broken, or simply not working for them. But then something strange happens. The curve bends. Suddenly, 1 year of growth becomes larger than all the gains of the previous 5 combined. Returns start generating returns at a scale that feels almost unreal. This is not luck. This is not timing. This is mathematics finally revealing itself. The truth is uncomfortable. Compounding rewards those who stay long enough to feel bored. Most people never cross that threshold. Here's a fact that shocks nearly everyone when they see it for the first time. The size of your initial investment matters far less than the length of time you stay invested. Consider the people. Person A invests $10,000 at age 35 and lets it grow at 7% for 30 years. Person B invests just $3,000 at age 25, but leaves it untouched for 40 years. Person A ends up with around $76,000. Person B ends up with over $45,000 despite investing less than 1/3 the money. Now imagine if Person B had invested consistently, even small monthly amounts. The gap explodes. This is the uncomfortable truth. Time is the real currency of wealth. Money is secondary. And every year you delay docent just reduce your final outcome. It permanently removes the most powerful years of compounding, the years where growth accelerates the fastest. If compounding is so powerful, why do so few people benefit from it? Because compounding fights human psychology at every step. We overvalue short-term rewards and undervalue long-term gains. We feel progress only when results are visible, and compounding hides its power until late. We confuse activity with productivity, constantly doing something instead of letting systems work. The market doesn't reward excitement. It rewards consistency, ironically. The best compounding strategy often feels like doing nothing, which makes it emotionally unbearable for many people. Compounding is not just a personal finance concept. Entire systems are built around it. Pension funds rely on compounding. Endowments rely on compounding. Sovereign wealth funds rely on compounding. These institutions don't chase trends. They don't panic during downturns. They understand that volatility is not the enemy, eruption is. During market crashes, while individuals panic and sell, institutions quietly reinvest. They know that downturns accelerate compounding for those who stay. This is why wealth concentrates over time, not because the rich are smarter, but because they understand patience better. Let's look at real numbers. Over the last 30 years, missing just the 10 best days in the stock market cuts total returns by more than 50%. And those best days often happen immediately after the worst days, when fear is at its highest. This means that emotional decisions don't just reduce gains, they break compounding entirely. The system doesn't punish mistakes instantly, it punishes them decades later, quietly and relentlessly. When people realize they've wasted time, they panic, and panic leads to bad fixes, taking excessive risks to catch up, chasing high-return promises, jumping between strategies every year. But compounding doesn't respond to urgency, it responds to stability. Trying to accelerate it artificially often does the opposite, setting the clock and compounding losses instead of gains. The irony is brutal. The harder people try to force wealth, the further they push it away. Once you understand compounding, you begin to see it everywhere. Skills compound. A 1% improvement every day doesn't feel like much until it turns into mastery. Reputation compounds. Small acts of reliability turn into trust, then influence. Discipline compounds. Tiny habits shape identity over decades. Wealth is just one output of a much larger system. Those who master compounding in life tend to master it in money as well. Here is the secret most people miss. Compounding is not a strategy, it's a lifestyle. It requires patience when nothing seems to be happening, discipline when temptation appears, faith in systems over emotions. The people who win aren't more aggressive, they're more consistent. And consistency, applied over time, becomes unstoppable. 1. Start smaller, start sooner. Waiting for the perfect amount costs more than starting with less. Time beats size. 2. Protect the process. Fees, emotions, and interruptions silently destroy compounding. Guard against them. 3. Let boring win. The most powerful strategies rarely feel exciting, that's why they work. One day, whether you act or not, time will pass. And years from now, you will look back at this moment and realize one of two things. You let compounding work for you, or you let time compound regret instead. The choice is invisible now but permanent later. If this video changed the way you think about money, patience, or time, like this video so more people can see it. Subscribe if you want deep, story-driven explanations of how wealth, power, and systems really work. And comment below, what small step will you start compounding today? Because the most powerful investment you'll ever make is the one you don't interrupt.